Boom! Good morning, friends. Nomad Brad coming to you from my box truck, and today I'm adding wall insulation. It's time, it's time, it's time. I'll tell you what, the main reason I'm doing wall insulation is because I need a sink. Nomad Brad has been living in here for 3 weeks with no sink, and it's time, my friends, to add a sink to this bad boy. And in order to install a sink, I have to first insulate the wall, then I have to put on my wall paneling, then I have to build a countertop, and then I can install a sink. So it's actually gonna be like 3 or 4 steps just to get to the sink portion. So we're gonna start with insulation. So the cool thing about the walls of the U-Haul trucks is they have these wooden slats that run all the way across, and it basically divides the wall into 4 sections. You have 1, 2, 3, and a 4th section up top. And so those work really nice as kind of frames to secure the insulation. So what we're gonna be doing is I got rigid insulation, and I figured out if you get 1 sheet of 3/4 insulation and 1 sheet of 1/2 inch insulation, those 2 pieces stacked on top of each other fill the space exactly so that the insulation will end up being flush with this wood trim or the wood strip that goes all the way down. And then once we have all these little sections filled with insulation, then we can easily just slap up our wall paneling. So it's actually a pretty smooth process. This stuff is from Home Depot. And this is RMAT Plus. And so it gives you an insulation guide for the 3/4 inch. It is R5, and then the 1/2 inch is R3. So altogether, we're gonna get an R8.2 insulation value, which is pretty good. And so you can see, if we look at the side of this insulation, it's a pretty high density foam. And I have used, in the past, I've used just the light, like the poly foam. It almost feels like styrofoam packaging, and that stuff is super thin. Our value on that is literally only like 1. It really doesn't do that much. So this stuff is definitely a much higher density, much better quality insulation. And then it has 2 sides. The aluminum side is intended to reflect heat back into this space, and then the other side is intended not to. So the cool thing is, because we have 2 sheets, we're gonna be installing 1 1/2 inch sheet on top of 1 3/4 sheet inside the wall. So I'm going to install the 1/2 inch sheet first, and I will have the aluminum side pointing towards the exterior wall. So hopefully in the summer, when the sun's beating down, it will, that reflective barrier will help redirect the heat away from the inside of the vehicle. And then I'll be doing the 3/4 sheet on the inside, and I'll have the silver portion facing inside to the living space. So hopefully in the winter, when I'm heating the inside of the box, then it'll help keep the heat inside and not have it going outside and heating the outside of the rig. So hopefully that's how it works. That's what we're gonna do today, install a 1/2 inch and a 3/4 sheet. So I wanted to show you guys how I'm measuring the insulation. So I know for this next piece I need to cut, it needs to be 18 inches tall. And so I'm using obviously a tape measure to measure the 18 inches. And then once I measure the 18 inches, I'm gonna mark it with this blue Sharpie. And then I'm gonna use this straight edge. And so I'll go through and mark it at 18 inches all along the board. And then I'll put the Sharpie out, or the straight edge out, and I'll run a straight line all the way down with the Sharpie. And then I'm going to use this razor blade knife. These things are awesome. They're super long. If you look how far that blade comes out, and they're super easy to control. So something like this is great, that you can easily just plunge it through the thickness of the material, drag it along, and get a really nice clean cut on the insulation. So let's go ahead and cut a piece for 18 inches. We gotta find the 18 inches, which is right here. We'll just make a little mark with the Sharpie, and then I'm gonna go all the way down the board, and I'm gonna make a mark at that 18 inches, like maybe every 1.5 feet or so. Then we take the straight edge, just pull it right up so it's aligned with the 18-inch marks. And we'll go ahead and just run all the way down like this. So now all you got to do is take the blade, stick it out a little bit, and then just run it right along the line we drew. And just easy peasy. This is probably one of the easiest projects on the entire build, is just adding this insulation. And then once the board's cut, all you gotta do is just pull it up and it'll kind of snap in place. Boom. There it is. And it looks like I might need to hit it a little bit more down here. Bam. All right, there we are. All right, so I got 2 pieces cut, one here, one there. This one is already installed, just so you can kind of see what it looks like. You just lay it in that little gap. Boom, like that. Kind of push it down, and then it'll drop right in. You can see if you look down here, see how far the white comes down into that wood? It comes down like a 1/4 inch. Ah! Okay, so I have the 3/4 foam cut. I already have the 1/2 inch up in place. This is the 3/4 board. And so, this stuff, just like the 1/2 inch, it will just kind of pressure fit right down in place if you measure and cut it right. Boom. Go like that. All right. So with the board up, then the next thing we're gonna do is I have this, they call it dryer vent insulation tape. Got it from Home Depot, but it's basically just a tape that is designed to stick to aluminum. And so it works good on this aluminum foil backed insulation. And so what I'm going to do with it is I'm just gonna run it along like this. Just like that, and so that kind of just helps hold the insulation board in place. And so we'll do that all along the top, all along the bottom, and then I'll cut one more piece for the top here, and that will pretty much be the whole wall. So just a little recap of where we're at. I have the insulation in each of these bays here. The top piece has just kind of fallen down because I don't have anything on the upper end to attach it to. But anyway, all the insulation's in place. Now the next piece is going to be to install the plywood. And I have the plywood sheets right here. I went ahead and picked it up at Home Depot, and I did have it cut to dimension at Home Depot. So the only thing I need to do before I install the plywood over the insulation is I'm gonna have to notch out for this little piece right here. Look at that work table. Love it. So now all I gotta do is measure from the ground up to this wooden rail that runs across, and then whatever that measurement is, I'll just mark it all the way down the board, and I'll run a screw in, and that'll hold this piece in place. So let's see what we got. 16 on the money. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna send it at 16 inches. And we're not even gonna pre-drill. right, here it is. Plywood wall all set up. Yeah, looking good. So now the next thing I'm gonna do is go ahead and finish off the insulation. I'm gonna cut strips for the walls here, the walls up there, the back piece, and then I'll start on the ceiling as well. And then once all the insulation is in, then I'm gonna keep going on the interior plywood paneling.